Hey guys, I'm Charles Neal. Sometime back, we did a little YouTube on how we cut tenons. And we had a lot of questions about how do I cut mortises. And you know, having done this all my life, I guess I've cut a mortise every way you can think of. But my favorite, by far, is a router. I'm always asked, what is your favorite tool? That's easy. I want a router in this hand and a spray gun in this hand. I'm good. So I thought I'd just show you how I prefer to cut mortises. Basically, what I do is I make a jig. It can't be any simpler. And I correspond that with a router guide. In this case, I'm using a 1-inch outside diameter, and so of course my slot's 1 inch. Now to make it up and make everything nice and pretty, all I do is cut me some sticks, space it ever how I want. And glue it back together and got a jig. I can, position it anywhere I want. The one thing you always have to remember is to compensate in making your jig for the distance from your router bit to the edge of your jig, particularly on the ends. So with a 1/2 inch router bit and a 1 inch guide, I've got to add 1/4 inch to my length on each end. Total of 1/2 inch. And of course we're using a plunge router. Now this is particularly effective for me when I'm doing multiples, which oftentimes we are. Now the last thing, or one big thing, take your time. Do not try to do it all in one pass. Now, before I go any further, let's talk a little bit about router bits. Typically, what you want to do this with is an upcut spiral bit. Now, the reason for that is what it does is it pulls the chips up out of the mortise. Okay, so it's not all the debris, it's not getting down in there and grinding. We're using something a little different today. I'll tell you about it. But this is the new, what's called a compression bit. What is a compression bit? Well, it's also referred to as an upcut downcut. What it does is the bottom of it is a downcut. Now, why is that significant? Well, a downcut, because it's shearing downward, cuts a cleaner, sharper edge. The upcut on this part of it is lifting the chip. So you kind of got the best of both worlds. That thing sure does cut a nice line and a really nice mortise. Even in something like this this old oak. Here's a mortise I cut just a little bit ago for another U-tube on a bed bolt. And you can see, now I cut this one by simply putting my jig on, cut one side, put it on the other way, cut the other side. But something I want you to bear in mind. You know, when you're dealing with a router bit, feed direction and rotation is extremely important. When you're using a handheld router, typically you're always going to be cutting left to right, because you want the bit to be feeding against the wood, not with the wood. If you're feeding with the wood, then the flutes on that bit can grab and pull. With that in mind, if I cut this side, okay, and then I come to cut this side, I want to, again, be feeding. In this case, I'm going to feed right to left because I want to be feeding into the wood. Meaning I don't want the other side of that bit to be able to grab and pull. Always keep that in mind. Okay. Now, we're going to come back and I'm going to show you another little way of cutting a mortise. Now, this little gizmo, as you can see, it's well worn. I bought this, but you could just as easily make it. All it is a base plate, and it has two bearings on it, equally spaced. And if you want just a straight center mortise, mounts to your router, goes down, twist it, and the bearings put you in dead center. Pretty quick and easy. The other thing with using the jig is you can also, by going to different size bushings or guides, whatever you want to call them, you can change the position. You can shim the jig in or shim it out, whatever you need. They're just super quick, easy to make, and you take, like we just did, 28 bedposts. You know how quick and easy this allowed us to go through it? You know, now, and again, on a wider mortise like a bed, I can make my slot wider, go down one side, come around, go down the other side, and get them done. Yeah, pretty quick and easy. That's just how I do mortises. I'll catch you later.